In this module's readings, we continue to learn a lot about the ethics of technology and the way that it's merging with humans. And it also dives into how major shifts in technology have kind of controlled things and will continue to control things. So the first article, which was Paradigm Shifts in the Tech Industry, focused a lot on just like those shifts in the tech industry and how different tech giants were able to come about because of it and dominate the market. So it started off with IBM in the 1960s dominating the market. Because the paradigm was mostly just about like computing, but then Apple was able to enter the market and kind of dominate once in 1975 as the new paradigm, the personal computer, kind of shifted and took over. And they were able to dominate for a long time until Microsoft kind of came in and saw how important it was to have that like software aspect. So they were able to take over from both Apple and IBM, but then they were challenged when the web became like the main paradigm. And then they also, so that kind of took away some of their dominance. And they also lost some more when the iPhone became a huge thing and just like personal mobile phones kind of took over. That was when Apple really became the giant and took over. But it's just important to remember that even as things shift, that doesn't mean that companies and old ways of doing things like have completely gone away. It just means that the like new ways are more like, I guess, successful and profitable for companies. So now kind of looking to the future, the most powerful companies are Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook. And it's predicted that augmented reality or AR will be the next huge paradigm shift. And Snapchat is looking at kind of entering the market through that, through their things like lenses and just things like that. And so it's just important to understand how it is like those paradigm shifts have interacted, like how humans have interacted with machines in different ways because of them. So then moving on to technology versus humanity, the two chapters that we read. So chapter 3 focuses mostly on explaining how there's going to be 10 mega shifts, or how there are 10 mega shifts in kind of like technology and like rewiring society. And the author says that those 10 mega shifts are digitization, mobilization, screenification, disintermediation, transformation, intelligization, automation, virtualization, anticipation, and robotization. And so essentially the author says that like they explained each of the 10 mega shifts and just kind of explained how they're happening a lot more like exponentially and simultaneously. So it's not so much one after the other in slow changes. It's a lot at one time. And they just like present a lot of challenges for humans and just society in general. And it's very difficult for people to control it. So the first mega shift, which is digitization, is essentially just that everything that can be digitized will be. The second one, mobilization and mediaization. So essentially connectivity is becoming a huge thing, which is like the mobile aspect of it. And so basically like that's becoming the new normal. And it means that technology is moving a lot closer to us and into us. And then with this rapid rise of digitization and mobilization, that's causing everything to just like be recorded and information to just be available everywhere, which is also causing some issues. Mega shift 3 is screenification, or like interface revolutions. And so that means that pretty much everything that used to be consumed as print, like newspapers and things like that, is now migrating to a screen. So even all of our communication is pretty much conducted over technology. The fourth mega shift is disintermediation. And it's essentially like a key trend in online commerce, media, and communication is to cut out that like middleman. So essentially it's like just taking out that middle person and things are going a lot more direct. Things like Spotify, Airbnb, Amazon Kindle, PayPal. Instead of having to use like bank buildings, people are using Venmo and PayPal. With Amazon, like you're not having to go to the actual brick and mortar store. You're just ordering directly from there. So it's just getting rid of that middle person. The fifth mega shift is transformation. And transformation means more than just a change. It's quite literally becoming something else. And so the author predicts that the biggest transformation is our like shifting towards not being physically separated from machines, but being directly connected to computers and devices. Kind of like it talked about in other readings and things, just how technology has really infiltrated the medical and human like aspects, and we're just getting a lot closer to converging with technology The sixth one is intelligization. So essentially, like, devices and stuff used to be like separately intelligent, but they're now becoming a lot more intelligent and understanding a lot more human things. The seventh mega shift is automation. And so that's like it's essentially that everything is going to kind of be automated, which the author goes further into in chapter 4. But it's like the idea that everything can be like made even cheaper and faster because we can substitute humans with machines. The eighth mega shift is virtualization, and it's the idea of creating a non-physical digital version of something rather than having like the physical hard copies of it. Then the ninth mega shift is anticipation, and so that's essentially that like we're able to program computers and technology to anticipate things instead of just like, oh, do this when like that. They're taking on a lot more human qualities and like anticipation. But the author says that there's like 4 main ethical issues that are going to come quickly because of this, being dependency, confusion, loss of control, and abdication. And the author kind of like expands on each of those. But then the 10th mega shift is robotization. And so that's essentially like all the mega shifts coming together and converging into like these new creations that are going to be robots just like everywhere. And that's really scary. And like that's a huge like ethical concern. And then, like I said, in chapter 4 of the book, the author like really focuses on automation and what that really looks like. And so in the past, automation has been really beneficial to society and has helped create new opportunities and things like that. However, this time it's taking a completely different turn and is a lot more dangerous and has a lot more ethical implications to it. And like essentially large businesses are going to be able to make much higher profits with less people. And so the author thinks that like money is going to start being separated from occupation. Like we're not just going to be working to make a living. However, the author also thinks that automation is progressing in 5 progressively worsening steps, which are automation, ascentation, abdication, aggravation, and then abomination. And so exponential automation is really scary because we're not even going to notice like how much power and control we've lost until it has reached far beyond the pivotal point where we could do anything about it. And we're just going to like lose control and not be able to control the machines. And like, it's just the reason it's such a big trend and such a big shift is because it's becoming clear that humans are expensive, slow, and often inefficient, whereas machines are cheap, fast, and ultra efficient and are just continuing to get better. And then we also watched The Social Dilemma, which goes into a lot of the ethics of social media and social media addiction and how manipulative the companies are. So like I said, throughout this week, like it definitely connected, the readings and the documentary connected a lot to previous articles that continued to go further into the ethics of all of this and just kind of explaining how humans are going to continue to become a lot more converged with technology, and it's going to be really hard to stop it as we pass that pivot point. And both chapters of Technology versus Humanity built on each other a lot and tackled into arguments made by the author, especially those about automation and how like humans are being replaced by machines and just how that's going to have like detrimental effects on society and the way that we live and our values. And then, like I said, they also focused a lot on the ethics of growing technology, especially in The Social Dilemma, which focused on the ethics of social media and how those huge companies are being very manipulative. And like I have personal connections to this because I know I personally have become very aware because I've seen the documentary 3 different times now, and I've become a lot more aware of how much I'm using social media and the ways that I'm interacting with it to make sure that I'm not being as manipulated by those companies, and have like limited my screen time and things like that. And I also do think that there's positive things about social media and other technologies that we're creating, but as humans, we need to be very conscious and aware of how we're using them, what they're being used for, and like our time on them. But yeah, overall, like these readings and the documentary just dove a lot into the ethics of like exponentially growing technology and just the way that we're using it, and just kind of automation and all of those types of topics.